Yes. Hello once again, everybody. Joe Klare here with the Marijuana Times show for December 1st, 2017. See myself and many other great writers over at marijuanatimes.org. As always, if you're looking for cannabis news and opinion, the latest in the industry, the community, and beyond, marijuanatimes.org. You can also find these videos there as well. Very shareable. Thank you to everybody who shares them on your social media networks and comments, likes, and all that stuff. This is also now an audio podcast on iTunes. Just search iTunes or Apple Podcasts if you prefer. For the show, search Marijuana Times on Apple Podcasts for some audio podcasts on the go. Today we've got a few stories to talk about, including the latest about Canada and their legalization plans. Also, recreational rules finally passed in San Francisco. We'll talk about those as well. And also, the coming opposition for legalization, or against legalization, rather, in Michigan. Before we get to all of that, I would be remiss if I did not mention our awesome sponsor of the Marijuana Times show, Natureside Cannabis. Natureside's line of all natural pesticide products. They're organic, all natural. They were developed and proven by pest control professionals and cultivators. They provide the confidence and security that professional cultivators and regulatory bodies demand. That is very important. Not only do you not want to give your customers things with product with harmful chemicals in it, because they'll be ingesting these chemicals, obviously. But also you don't want to run afoul of various regulations in the states where cannabis cultivation is legalized. There are already regulations in place in many states. There are more on the way, including places like Colorado, where new pesticide regulations take effect in January. For all those reasons and more, you want to control the pests in your cannabis cultivation. You want to do it in an organic, all-natural way. Make sure you check out naturesidecannabis.com. A proud sponsor of the Marijuana Times show. That's correct. If you guessed that I was going to say the Marijuana Times show, you are correct. You win nothing, but it's nice just to play. Well, maybe it's not nice. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe it's not nice to play if you don't win anything. In any case, our first story comes from marijuanatimes.org. Canada's legalization bill passed another hurdle towards reality. Julia Granowitz tackled this subject over at marijuanatimes.org. This week, the Canada House of Commons passed the bill they've been working on for quite a while to legalize cannabis with a vote of 200 to 82, which means the bill now goes to the Senate in Canada for approval, which means it's going to go through another gauntlet of bureaucratic questioning and looking into and debating, and then more debating, and then more voting, and then more debating. Some of the highlights of the bill gives individual provinces the right to determine the legal age for consumption, which means it may vary from province to province, even though the federal legal age will be 18. The Cannabis Act also allows individuals to possess up to 30 grams of cannabis at any time and allow them to grow up to 4 plants. It's going to allow provinces and territories to determine where and how both cannabis oils and dry flowers can be sold in their own jurisdiction, but does not allow for edibles like brownies, cookies, candies, or drinks to be sold. It is expected that the law will be revised to include edibles within a year or so. Again, as I've been saying ad nauseum at this point, I'm getting over the flu. Still wreaking havoc with my throat, my vocal cords. I press on because it's important, and it is important. According to Parliamentary Secretary Bill Blair, earlier this month he said, quote, "The Senate will bring its sober reflection to this bill, and I think it's really important to help us get this right. But we also expect to work as diligently as everyone else in the country, and in recognition that delay is unacceptable. It has been 2 years now, more than 2 years now, since Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party took power in Canada. One of their major platforms, one of their major promises was, of course, legalizing marijuana for adult use. And they're still working on that, as you can see. And it is a long process, and a process that continues now to the Canadian Senate. This next story comes to us from SFGate.com. Supervisors, we'll take that off there. San Francisco supervisors passed recreational marijuana rules after months of talking. Cannabis dispensaries in San Francisco will be allowed to operate closer to schools under rules the Board of Supervisors approved Tuesday. The new regulations passed on a 10-1 vote with Asha Safai in dissent. Reduced the school buffer zone from 1,000 feet to 600 feet, the amount recommended by the state. The revision signaled a remarkable shift in city lawmakers' thinking on cannabis from the beginning of the month, when several supervisors were trying to push the industry out of their districts. It was a story we covered here on the Marijuana Time Show. Supervisor Katie Tang, whose district has no dispensaries, wanted to keep the 1,000-foot school buffer and also apply it to daycare facilities. She proposed several restrictions that all went down to defeat. Israel Nevis Rivera of the Department of Public Health said that such rules would cluster cannabis on the east side of San Francisco, which already has the highest concentration of dispensaries, and, quote, place it in black and brown neighborhoods. Supervisor Mark Farrell said he has no fears that his 5-year-old child is at risk of taking a time out from kindergarten and walking down the street to a cannabis store. It's probably a good call. It's not going to happen. And I've mentioned the buffer zone ridiculousness here quite a few times already in the short run of the show that we've seen so far. The notion that 601 feet is, or 1,001 feet is great, it's perfect, but 999 feet, well, that's just too close. It's arbitrary, it's random, it's a way for politicians to pretend that they're doing something. They can point to this. We'll say we try to keep it away from schools and so on and so forth. We try to keep it farther from schools. So I'm doing something. I'm a politician and I'm doing something. Look at me doing something. The board unanimously passed an amendment to allow existing medical marijuana dispensaries to sell recreational marijuana beginning January 5th. So there was some fear that there's going to be quite a delay when it comes to San Francisco, at least, and the sale of adult use marijuana. It looks like those fears are not to come to be, at least at this point. January 1st, the state is supposed to start issuing licenses for recreational sales. It looks like San Francisco's going to be ready, at least by January 5th, to be able to do that as well. This last story comes from Freep.com. Group ready to fight plan for legalized pot in Michigan. Of course, we announced, or we told you the other day about Michigan, the campaign to regulate marijuana like alcohol. They have gotten what they hope is enough signatures. They've turned the signatures in, 252,000. Some, approximately, of them need to be deemed valid by the state to get adult use legalization on the Michigan ballot in 2018. So, of course, what would marijuana legalization be, or a marijuana legalization campaign be, without opposition? How about the Healthy and Productive Michigan? Or it's just Healthy and Productive Michigan. I don't want to misname them. They formed this week to fight the marijuana legalization effort. Now that big money has started to get behind legalizing marijuana in Michigan, it's time we put Michigan first and oppose these efforts, said Grand Rapids political consultant Scott Greenlee, the president of the organization. We remain opposed to increased marijuana use in Michigan, he said. Now, those are two separate things. If you assume legalization is going to lead to increased use and you're against increased use, then by all means, I guess you're going to oppose it. There's really no proof that it does lead to increased use. In some states, especially for adolescents and teens, it's led to decreased use. But there are various studies and data available that shows that older people are using more under legalization, especially those over 65 years of age. With the removal of legalization, some of the stigma is removed as well. Obviously, supply is freed up somewhat. It's much easier if you can't find an illegal marijuana dealer. It's much easier just to walk down the street or drive, a couple miles to the local dispensary, the retail shop, or whatever, and get your marijuana. But to pretend that this is the end of the world, and because most people who are smoking cannabis are going to smoke. Most people who are going to smoke cannabis and use cannabis under legalization already are. Many of them may increase their amount, the amount they use, maybe so. But obviously, there's so many more things to be worried about when it comes to what's going to cause trouble for people in Michigan. Legalization is not one of them. It's not causing trouble for people in other states. It's brought a lot of benefits, and it makes no sense, in any case, to leave the market out of the realm of legality. It helps no one except for those people who, of course, sell in that market. Again, excuse me. I know it's getting old. I'm getting tired of it. I'm tired of hearing it. Get tired of hearing this guy on this video coughing. Just stop already. So anyway, they join a second group to oppose the ballot proposal. The Committee to Keep Pot Out of Neighborhoods and Schools formed in May to battle cannabis legalization. So far, it's funded by the Michigan Responsibility Council, a group of business owners who want to get into the medical marijuana business. So the second group, the opposition group, is being funded by the Michigan Responsibility Council, who I guess basically wants to keep adult use illegal to eliminate competition from the medical marijuana industry, which they want to get into. I mean, it's one thing to be against recreational before medical marijuana. There are people like that. They approve of medical use, but they don't approve of recreational use. But to spend money to keep putting adults in jail because you don't want the competition, because you want to get into medical marijuana, that's crap. Pardon my French. It's crap. So anyway, the group regulate marijuana like alcohol in Michigan. They turned in 365,000 signatures. They need 252,213 to be valid. They're being reviewed by the Secretary of State as we speak. And then now they have their opposition. And the people in the opposition, especially this first group, Healthy and Productive Michigan, they say they're probably going to need at least $1 million to be a proper opposition. Apparently they have some funders backing them. So we'll see how that goes. It's to be expected. Legalization is not going to be an easy thing. It took this long just to get things like this on the ballot. And obviously when you do so, there's going to be people standing in the way, or at least attempting to stand in the way, which means activists and people in Michigan just have to work that much harder to get out the vote. That's it. That's it for that story. That's it for this show. That's it for the end of the week. Thanks, everybody. Keep spreading the word about the Marijuana Times show. I am Joe Klare. Go check out marijuanatimes.org for all of the latest on the cannabis community and industry and beyond. And of course, thank you to NatureSideCannabis.com for sponsoring the show. If you need natural organic pesticides, if you're a cannabis cultivator, you need help with that, you need products, go check out NatureSideCannabis.com. If you want to sponsor the show, of course, info@marijuanatimes.org, and let us know that you would like to sponsor. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Until next time, we'll be seeing you. Is that a good new sign off? No, not in the least. I'll try not to use "we'll be seeing you." That's not good.